Good morning.
Good afternoon
Good evening, wherever you are.
on this amazing life-filled planet of ours.
I'm Ariel.
I'm Shia.
And clearly we finish each other's sentences.
What we do.
So relax. Just relax. Let's listen to each other today. Not only do Shia and I get to listen to each other, you get to listen not only to us, but the amazing guests we have calling in today.
Well, let's talk for a moment about listening. See, listening isn't agreeing or disagreeing. It's simply hearing what another person has to say from their point of view. And if you're good at it, you'll listen to hear like you don't already know what's being said. For so many times we think we know what's being said by the first few words, and then we tune out and get lost in our thoughts. So see if you can not even think about what's being said, but just hear it.
And when you say we tune out and get lost in our thoughts, because in a certain respect, when I heard the words tune out, it's as if it's a volitional act where sometimes I just find it this automatic.
It's reflexive in a way.
The automaticity of the mind takes over.
Right. It just thinks, it gets lost in thoughts about whatever's incomplete for the most part. If there's anything incomplete in your life, you'll know what it is because it keeps showing up to be thought about and hopefully completed.
And if you're upset, chances are it'll amplify anything that feels incomplete to you or is indeed incomplete, or it'll keep chewing on how you're doing and what you're doing.
It being the conversation in your head that you listen to and think is you.
Today's the opportunity, whether you're having a great day or a challenging day or somewhere in between, to allow yourself to simply be here and listen and see what happens. It's quite lovely.
When you said to simply, I thought, have the grace to allow yourself to be.
Have the grace to allow yourself to be.
Because if you look, you'll see that most of the time, the conversation in your head is picking on you for what you haven't done or what you have done.
Or plotting and planning what you're going to be doing next in order to be a better you, what you should do, where you're headed.
Yeah, all that.
How about we take
our first guest?
All right.
Ursula.
Welcome to being here. Where are you zooming in from?
Hi, I'm Ursula, calling in from Switzerland, St. Gallen in Switzerland.
Lovely.
How is St. Gallen?
I didn't get that.
How is it in St. Gallen?
Oh, it's started snowing again, which is really lovely. Everything looks much cleaner when it's snowing.
Snow in Switzerland. I guess people go skiing a lot there.
Yeah, people will really like it, I think. Most of them.
Now, if you are listening to this when it airs in March and you look out your window, it may not be snowing again, but today in Ursula's world it is. So we're going with that.
Absolutely. Yes. We had green Christmas. It was lovely too. Quite mild.
Nice. What can we do for you, sweetie?
Well, I listened to you speaking about listening, and it just gets me how multidimensional listening is, and how you said that it's a reflex to get lost in thoughts, and I know that, and still I get lost in thoughts about myself and my better self and whatnot, and it's always stifling me still. you know,
That, Ursula, darling, is because you think you should be different than you are.
yes.
You have the idea you should be clear and blank rather than thoughtful.
Well, what you're talking about is the mind, and the mind is all about change. So when you say, in your case, you think about being your better self, well, better, worse, greater, lesser, right, wrong, good, bad, all those things are the dichotomies that exist in the mind. And of course, the mind ponders mindful things. And so you say it as if it's a failing that the mind still behaves like a mind.
Like a machine that it is.
Mm,
See, it operates like a machine, a stimulus response re-stimulation machine,
mhm.
where something stimulates your thought, like the current political situation, and then that creates another thought and another thought, and you keep on re-stimulating yourself with new thoughts, never reaching peace.
But you don't want to now, or you can, but it make the mind wrong. And it has its place. I wouldn't know where my refrigerator was if I didn't have a mind. I wouldn't know
How to get
anything.
home.
I wouldn't know how to get home. And I was looking at it and I realized you're a teacher. You teach singing in a high school. And if your student comes in front of you and they are doing a test, you're going to look and see which answers they got right and which answers they got wrong. And that's part and parcel of the learning process. So the right and wrong is not a bad thing. It's part of it. But I suspect what makes you be such a stellar teacher is your way of being.
Absolutely. I can really say that, yes. Ever since I've been taking seminars with you, I got aware of that. It must have been there before, but I became aware of it, that less is more. I can just be there and listen to them, not only with my ears, but with my whole being. And I get much more information that way. It's quite amazing.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Would you say that you as an individual have expanded or grown in the last 5 years?
Yes. Yes.
How about in the last 10 years?
Yes.
That's interesting. We received an email recently from Andrea talking about how many years ago when she was singing, her throat would always hurt. And so she went to the libraries and went to all different singing teachers throughout Switzerland. And then she discovered a book that she liked, and she followed that to seminars that were going to be led by that individual that you were organizing. And the moment she saw your picture, she said, "That's my teacher." And you've taught her singing, you've taught her well-being, you've introduced her to transformation. I guarantee you underestimate yourself today the same way you underestimated who you were
Back then.
That's amazing.
Because our stories are so much more limited than who we are. They contain all of our failures, all our aspirations.
Well, our perceived values.
Correct.
See, there's a possibility that you've never failed in any way, because everything you've done has been on a continuum that brought you to this moment. And if your life is well in this moment, then everything you've done has contributed to your well-being in this moment. Pretty cool, huh?
So totally cool. Yes.
A different way of contextualizing it or holding the circumstances of your life. If you look at it as win, lose, pass, fail, well, then we've all failed. But the reality is that in this moment, you can only be exactly as you are. And in any past moment, you could have only been exactly as you were. Therefore, who you are is a direct, not reflection, but extension of who you once were. And so those things you did that you considered failures or mistakes all led you to the current moment of your life. Therefore, you couldn't have failed.
On this theme of being one of a kind is included the perfection of being you. Now we can look at other people, like you have an ability to sing that I truly admire. But if I envy it, then that's me comparing myself to you, holding myself less and putting you as other.
Or better.
Or better. So there's something really lovely about allowing myself to enjoy, admire, learn from, grow, without having to put myself in a lesser position in order to do that. Or a greater position, because a greater position where you barricade your heart and hold yourself above other people can be equally painful.
Yes, it can. Yes. It doesn't often feel that much greater. I love that. It's a different light to look at it, but it seems like a true light.
What's the light?
What is the light is shining on?
Well, as I formulated the question, it was more like, I am so much with that light of I'm so much better today than I am when I was younger. And you just showed me that everything was perfect 10 years ago and 5 years ago. And that's the reality, because I was in relationship with people and I was being me and I was inspiring people, as you said. And Andrea, who you were quoting, she's one of my stars. I like her and she inspires me so much. So it's mind-boggling.
Yeah, but you weren't okay back then because of anything.
Mm-hmm.
If you had been disconnected from people, you would have been okay. If you weren't inspired back then, it would have been okay. Somebody listening to this today may not feel particularly inspired.
Uh-huh.
If you use a set of standards to know if you're okay, you will always fail at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Cannot be any different than you are in any given moment.
That's for sure.
That's the second principle.
You can't be different than you are in this moment.
And that's the second principle.
And if you can't be different than you are in this moment, how could you possibly have been able to be different than you were in a previous moment?
Couldn't.
And we don't even have to worry about future moments because they don't get here until they do.
And then when they do, they're a current moment. Of course, the first principle is anything you say no to, you get stuck with.
Well, we were doing a seminar, a Zoom seminar Monday night, I guess. And there was a fellow there who was worried about decisions that he had to make in the future. And there is no future, not until it gets here. So worrying about how you're going to be at some future moment is just a waste of this moment, which you're totally entitled to do, because most people waste the current moment thinking about the past.
And then you're perfectly wasting it. You
That's
cannot
right.
do anything different than how you're doing. And anything you see without judging completes itself.
When we say you can't do anything different different than you're doing it. People say, oh, yes, I can.
Well, you have to have that automatic response if you do.
That you do. Well, that doesn't mean they couldn't do anything other than say, oh, yes, I can.
Hmm.
You know, the other day, I was doing laundry downstairs and I had one of those reflexive thought loops patterns. I can't recall what I was thinking about at the time, but there came a point where I was coming from our washer and dryer are down in the basement, and I go up a set of stairs into the kitchen in order to go back to the main level of our house. And I realized I was kind of floating my way across the basement. I wasn't seeing anything. I was, not bumping into anything, but I really wasn't there. And I came out of this floaty state and did not make myself wrong for having gone there, which would have been the first principle. I didn't dwell on what I had been thinking, which is probably why I don't even recall it now. But I realized there's another possibility. And from one step to the next, I stepped into an engagement that took me up the stairs with alacrity and liveliness, and I went on about my day. It's not a problem if you get thought prone. The moment you notice you've been thought prone, you're already out, and then there's another possibility.
True. It's marvelous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for
Being
zooming
here
in
with
today
us.
and being here.
Thank you for being you.
Selba. Takes one to know one. It's time for our listener feedback spotlight.
Okay, so here we go.
We're going to hear from one of our listeners about how transformation has impacted her life or his life. Let's see.
Yeah. And if you'd like to learn more about what we're up to, come, you could register for any of our upcoming virtual courses.
Or sign up for our newsletter. Just visit
transformationmadeeasy.com.
It really is easy.
It is easy if you know the way.
This is Michelle in New York City. Transformation has changed my life. It has impacted me profoundly. And when there seem to be situations where I don't see a way out or a solution, I know with transformation, there's always another possibility. And this is fantastic.
Do you want to have well-being with consistency? Connect with people all over the world from the comfort of your own home at Aaron & Shire's lively interactive Living Made Easy virtual seminars. Join any of their 2-hour online events or take a deep dive into the magic of being you at a virtual weekend seminar. Come on, let's connect. Find out more and register at transformationmadeeasy.com.
This weekend,
We have an upcoming seminar, Passion, Revitalize Your Life.
if you haven't already registered, you are invited.
And we have space.
In
Of course, it is virtual.
It is. This one for sure is virtual. At the time of recording, we do not know yet whether our following seminar at the end of April and May 1st is virtual or in person yet at Camp Tecumseh. So you'll need to check our website. The theme is Leap into Life. It's so easy to second guess yourself to death.
Or be dragged into life by the circumstances and what you have to do,
Or you can be bold.
and jump into your life like it's your idea.
So you are invited. You can find out about any of our seminars, including upcoming Mondays, Saturdays, and also get our newsletter.
At transformationmadeeasy.com.
Let's take our next guest.
Yes, Luca.
Hi, Luca. Welcome to being here. Tell everybody where you are zooming in from.
Hello, I'm Luca Rodriguez. I'm in Brooklyn, New York.
And proud of it.
I'm out of it. I made.
Hey, welcome to being here.
Oh, thank you. A very important one for me. I've always suffered from not feeling that I'm enough. Even because I'm an actor, even as an actor, I have always had this pressure over my shoulders. You have to be great. You have to do a great performance. And my directors, my acting teachers would always say the same thing. You are enough. You are enough. But how can you believe that you are enough?
Well, see, here's the thing, Luca. You have to give up being right. See, you have to start trusting your directors and your teachers, people that you pay to support your performances.
Mhm.
You see you through an old, how old are you?
Oh, I'm 54.
So for the past 52 or so years, you've been listening to a story about you as told by you at age 2, which has been embellished upon and says, I'm not enough, since you're about 2 years old, since you started speaking Spanish, I imagine.
Portuguese.
Portuguese. Oh, I apologize.
No,
Okay. Well, with name Rodriguez, it's a Spanish.
because I'm from Brazil.
You can have either one then.
Okay. But so now you've learned English, so that voice translates I'm not enough into English. But it's the same old story, you see.
Mhm.
Maybe I can demonstrate it. So, Luca, in this moment, can you be different than you are? Oops, too late. The moment just went by. I'll slow down a little bit and you'll try, okay? So you now know where I'm going. I want you to be different than you are. Can you do that for me right now? Oops, now it just went by again.
I can't.
Right. You got it. So if you can't be different than you are, how could you be more? How can you, why isn't that, if you can't be different, you can't be more than you are. You can only be what you are. And that is enough. You know, the definition of perfect in the dictionary says whole, full, complete, lacking no component part, immutable, cannot be changed. In this moment, you can only be exactly as you are. But that's whole and that's full and it's complete, and you can't change it because the moment goes so fast, and that's perfection. So therefore, you're perfect, being you. Now, you'd make a lousy Shia, but you make a great Luca.
I understand totally. It's because there is so much pressure, especially nowadays with Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, and especially Instagram, that, you know, you have to have this wonderful life. You have to be great, and as everything that you see around you, it's.
That's why I don't go on Instagram.
I don't go on Instagram either, and I don't tweet or any of that. But that's besides the point. I'm not saying you shouldn't.
Mhm.
But if you slow down enough to be where you are, you have a wonderful life. You know, you're in Brooklyn, New York, for God's sakes.
I got it. Thank you.
You're acting, you know, you go to auditions. You have the freedom to do that. That's awesome.
Mhm. Yeah.
And Luca, you really are enough. You're a perfect Luca.
However, the conversation that you're not enough or you need to do something to provide as you say, like a great performance, that's your starting point. Now, on one hand, it's quite wonderful that you have the moral backbone to want to go in and give it your all rather than, I'll just go phone it in today. They'll never know the difference. But when that turns into a pressure all it is a symptom. It's not a problem. That is, each of us, Luca, have well-formed, repetitive thoughts and ideas that replay when we're off center. And I gave you one half of it today. Sometimes when I start thinking, I slow down. Sometimes when I am thinking, I speed up. So if I have this idea that I need to be different, that's telling me I'm not here right now. I'm not fully invested in this moment. It's just a barometer, if you will, that's letting you know that a storm is coming. Or with a simple breath, it's enough to return you to here.
Mhm. To be in the,
And yes, you're perfect, including
See-
all that pressure.
See, here's the thing. When you are pressuring yourself, you're following thoughts that you have to do well. But you do well at everything you do, don't you?
I think so.
I'm not asking you to think about it. I'm asking you to just take a look.
Yeah.
Don't you do everything pretty good?
Yeah.
And when you are auditioning for a part, you give it your best. Now look, you've picked a horrible profession. Because most of the things you audition for, they're looking for something else.
It's not a failing on your part.
It's got nothing to
It's
do
just-
with you.
it's just a fact
You've
that you
got
start
dark.
with.
You got dark hair, and they're looking for somebody with blonde hair.
Mhm.
You're. I don't know how tall. Let's say 6 feet tall.
Mhm.
Am I close?
Yes, 6'1".
6'1". Okay, and they're looking for somebody that's 4'7". It's not, the rejection isn't because of your acting ability. It's because they're looking for something and you're just not that. But when they're looking for something that you're perfect for, you get the part. I would take the pressure off yourself.
Mhm.
And you
know-
probably get a lot more parts, by the way.
Sure,
Because when you try too hard, that's when you get in trouble.
I agree.
We were talking in the last segment with Ursula. Ursula was a great teacher back when Andrea first met her, but she can't be responsible for the click Andrea felt when she saw the picture of Ursula. It was just a fit. It's just a fact of how it works. And you can enjoy the ride, or you can listen to the ongoing conversation that each of us have that tells you you aren't enough.
But here's the thing. When you're fully engaged, that conversation leaves you alone.
It goes dormant.
See, when you're fully engaged, you're not having a side conversation. Can I do this? As a teacher, which is what I do, I cannot really have attention on myself and
And how
be-
you're doing.
and how I'm doing and have my students learn. Because my attention's on me, not on them.
Mhm.
If my attention is on them, I have no attention on the quality of my voice, for instance,
Mhm.
because my attention is out there. What you're talking about is when your attention falls back on you, and then you're not performing your role as an actor, you're questioning your abilities as an actor. Two different things. One, you're demonstrating your ability to fulfill the requirements of the role. The other one, you're thinking, well, I'm not sure that I'm good enough for this, or I can't do this. Well, then your attention is on you, not on taking care of the director.
It's perfect. Exactly what you said, because that's how I feel. When I'm fully engaged, the voices don't turn up. I don't hear the old voices when I'm engaged. But when I'm in that moment, oh, am I being good? Oh, I don't think they, then the voices all come.
Well, actually, it happens a little before that. It happens in the moment you question whether you're being good. Now you are no longer in the moment.
Yes.
Now you're in thoughts about how you're doing.
Yeah.
But you do have one, well, you have a couple of lucky things. One, you have Susan as a
Voice coach.
A voice coach, so that's very fortunate. But also your profession. So if you're an actor and all of a sudden your attention goes on you and you're worrying if you're good enough, you can take that as the perfect starting point for whatever's happening next with your character. That it, instead of being happy day, if that's your idea about your character, it's like self-doubt. And from that place of self-doubt, you perform the words because people are fully dimensional. And if you treat whatever's going on with you as perfect and feed it into your character, you're giving your audience a blessing.
I got it.
See, there's this other thing, and that is you can't do it wrong. You just can't do it wrong. I mean, you can forget your lines and then you would have done it wrong. But when you're fully engaged in the role, then you're being the character. And human beings have foibles, have idiosyncrasies, have, small thoughts about themselves. So if you're having a small thought about yourself, just blame it on your character and move on.
I will.
That's a good hint.
Awesome.
Well, I seriously mean this. If I have a self-doubt, or self-doubt comes up in me as I'm leading a seminar, I assume it's the person I'm talking to. That I've just tuned into them so fully that I've picked up their self-doubt.
But here's what makes it awesome is Shia is not hard on himself for ever doubting himself. He doesn't find that as a lesser version of Shia. So if he fully embraces that, oh, gee, I'm not so good, or the self-doubt thing, as if that conversation even is a friend, then it allows the person he's speaking to be okay with themselves fully.
So if you have self-doubt show up and you allow yourself to have that and still deliver the role that you need to, the lines you need to, then you're actually taking care of the director and everybody else that's involved in the production of the show.
Including the audience, because you're up there, I'm focusing on you. If you're okay being you, all the colors of Luca, then suddenly gives me permission to be okay. And then the performance isn't just a performance, it's a transference of possibility, which I suspect is why you went into acting in the first place. Not simply Luca wants to be a star, but Luca has something to give.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Before we let you go, I know that we're releasing these podcasts in audio format, but it's been such a blessing to watch your face and see how moved you are by life. It's really a treat to be with you, Luca.
And that, Luca, is a blessing for everyone, that you can be moved by life.
Well, I'm also moved by what you have just said, because sometimes things just touch us because they are what we have been willing to looking for to listen, so thank you.
You're very, very welcome. Mhm. Mhm. Whew, I just got goosebumps. That was
I like
fun.
goosebumps.
If you enjoyed being here with Luca and you're enjoying the podcast, Feel free, if you wish, to leave a review on your favorite podcast app. And even if you've left one before, you can always leave an update. It helps other people find being here. And if you feel to do it, thanks in advance. And if you don't feel to do it, don't.
Thanks in advance.
Yeah, be you. It's all fine. Next week's episode. Now.
Is forever.
I love that. We'll be back next week.
So come on back.
And don't miss.
Being here.
I love when you say that.
Being here. Me too.